Advanced Studio Classroom is on the air. Welcome back to our advanced class. Today is day 2 of our article. And what is the name of the article that we are studying today?
Hawker food in Singapore.
Right, and we have a Singaporean with us. And who is that?
Oh, it's Francis here. Hi.
Francis.
Thanks. Good to see you guys.
You like to talk about Singapore food, Francis?
Hey, I love food. Yeah, Singapore food is the best. Sorry. It's
That's
the best
good.
for me. Yeah.
And of course, I've been there several times, and
Yes,
I
you
like
did.
the food. But I think one of our teachers has not been there.
I haven't. I'm Linda, but I look forward to going there.
And you're going to enjoy the food, right?
I will.
What do you think you're going to eat first when you get there?
Well, I have to eat the chicken rice and satay, and I would love to try the Peranakan food.
Peranakan food, yeah. They
Yes.
should try that totally. Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about nasi goreng today. You'll like that, too. So let's
Okay.
find out what we're going to talk about today. But Singapore is a very interesting place because it's a very clean place and it's really very organized, and the people are very industrious. One thing, though, they don't have a lot of space, so they live in big, high apartments, a lot of people. It's a little crowded.
Yeah, but we're going underground too. We have lots of malls that are like at least 2-story basements of shopping and eating. Yeah, we're getting use as much of the space as possible in Singapore.
So you check that out when you go there, right?
Yeah, I will.
Right. So the name of the article again is, what is the name?
Hawker food in Singapore.
Okay. And where are we going to start reading today?
We're going to start reading at the bottom of page 35 of Vanishing Craft.
Okay, so read along with us.
A Vanishing Craft. Over a plate of beet red mee goreng, a local Indian take on stir-fried Chinese noodles, Sito spoke about a looming crisis. The storied ranks of Singapore's food vendors, known here as hawkers, are aging faster than they can be replaced. Their children, equipped with elite educations and living in one of the most affluent countries in the world, have little interest in working 12-hour shifts in 10 by 10 feet hawker stands in unrelenting heat. Thousands of old heritage hawkers, proud, loud, humble, authentic, are marching toward a cliff, said Sito, who has been keeping a running tab on his Facebook page of the latest dining destinations to close. They're going to go down and into the sunset. Behind them are perhaps 10 new hawkers to replace them. Without them, Singapore wouldn't have its frenetic dining scene where unpretentious food reigns and the instinct to eat elbow to elbow with strangers forms the basis of community.
So as we begin today's part of the article, we're going to talk about something that is going away. It's disappearing. And we use the word vanishing. I think there are a lot of vanishing crafts in the world. Do you think so?
There are, just because there isn't the next generation, they aren't picking it up because maybe it's too traditional. It doesn't serve a purpose to them in modern day life. So we're losing a lot of these crafts.
And there's a lot of handmade things like, the tribes people used to make all their own cloth and everything, and they don't do that now. And so there's a lot of vanishing crafts in the world. Aren't
Yes,
there?
especially if it's made by hand.
Right, that's true. But they're talking about this food, and you wouldn't think about food being a vanishing craft, but it is, because sometimes it takes more time to prepare it. So what is the vanishing crafts we're talking about here?
Vanishing craft would be like some Singapore food that takes a long process to make. And the preparation, like Peranakan food, some Peranakan foods really take a long time to process.
What about
food.
this beet red mee goreng? What is
Mee
that?
goreng? Mee goreng is more like a noodle dish
Okay.
in Singapore, yeah. It has a bit of, the noodles are red in color, and they're normally served with an egg and either with some seafood or it could be meat, yes.
Well, it says the local Indians, they take on stir-fried Chinese noodles, and
Yeah,
and
so it's a mix.
It's
yeah.
kind of a looming crisis. It's something that is coming soon. It's overtaking them, isn't it?
Right, something that's impending. And usually something that's looming will be negative. It's, it's like a dark cloud.
Looming, kind of like the clouds, like it's going to rain or something like that.
Dark
Right?
clouds looming over, it'll
Right.
bring a thunderstorm.
So it says the storied ranks of these Singapore food vendors known as hawkers are aging faster than they can be replaced because people aren't doing that so much anymore. What does it say about that?
Well, their children, because they have these elite educations, they've probably gone abroad and studied and gotten their degrees in the U.S. or Australia or wherever.
PhDs.
Yeah, and they are currently living in one of the most affluent, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. They don't want to carry on what their parents were doing. They don't want to work 12-hour shifts in a small 10 by 10 foot stand in unrelenting heat, this continuous hot weather.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. Like there's a lot of places like in Taiwan and other countries and in Hong Kong and different places where the people that sell things at the night markets, but their kids went on to be doctors and lawyers and their parents worked in a night market. And they say, how come your mother and dad work in a night market? But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that now when they get more and more educated, they feel that's
It's
kind
sort
of
of beneath
class,
them, like they're...
They work too hard and they don't get enough for it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it used
Doesn't
to be
have
like a
any-
way of living in order to support your kids. Yeah, so hawker centers used to be like parents have to sell food to put food on the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were successful in being able to earn enough to send their kids
That's
to
true.
better places. And
Well,
do better
I've
than
heard
them.
of people that could actually drive really expensive cars for selling hawker center food. Some of them get really well. The food that they sell are really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that there's a lot of these, we'll call them old heritage hawkers. They're very proud people, and yet they're still humble, but they're true. They're authentic. That means they are not just people that said, let's go into business. They know how to do this from scratch at the very beginning.
Right. Yeah, they've been there from the start. They had to, start from scratch.
But we talk about moving forward and making advances, but these people that have done this for many years, they're not marching forward. What are they doing?
They're marching toward a cliff.
Well,
and
that's dangerous to
Yeah,
say
that
that.
phrase is kind of ominous because if you're marching towards a cliff, you're going to eventually go over the cliff. So this is another way of saying that this heritage might be ending because there's no one to carry it on.
Now, who is this man that mentioned it, Sito? You mentioned him yesterday.
Yes, he's the founder and author of the book called Makan Sutra. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
And he what did he say about that? He said he's keeping tab on his Facebook page of these. So he is keeping a tab on it.
he's keeping a record of people where the latest food places to eat, actually. Yes.
So what did he say about them then?
Well, he's also keeping a record of the dining destinations that are closing, the places that are, have already gone over the cliff, right? They can't continue and they've closed. And they're going down into the sunset. And that's...
So, Francis, when you go back, you might say, I want to go to my favorite place and it's not there anymore. Right?
Yeah.
That'll be sad.
No, I'll be fine. Yeah. I'll find a new one.
Find another
I'll
one.
find a new place.
There'll be more, yeah. But, that's true that some of them have closed down. And they use this phrase, they're going down and into the sunset, meaning that it's getting into the darkness. So there's very picturesque words here that give us a picture in our mind, don't they? Going over a cliff, going in the sunset. Yeah. Or we sometimes say you're getting older, you're going into the sunset years of your life and so forth.
That phrase is a lot nicer than marching toward a cliff.
Right.
It has a more romantic feel to it.
It does.
Going into the sunset.
But it says maybe there'll be, some new hawkers to replace them, because if they don't replace them, what's going to be like without them?
It will end. Yeah, that will. They won't have this this particular food anymore.
This skill set. Well, I heard in some of the schools in Singapore, they're starting to do a degree in hawker management.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
so you
good.
can actually, like agriculture, learn how to do like plants and crops. But this is like learning how to manage food, hawker center foods, like do a
That's
business.
good. So they can make it, pay off.
They make it like an entrepreneur, because Singapore is very entrepreneur. Like
Yeah,
we are very,
yes.
very.
In a sense, it's wealthy in that sense. That
Yes.
there's, the standard of living is high and everything. So,
Yeah.
so they're working on it. So they don't want it to go over the cliff.
Well, I don't want it to vanish. Also,
No, of
yes.
course not.
Yeah.
So they're trying to work on that. And it says here that they wouldn't have this kind of a scene where this instinct to eat elbow to elbow with strangers forms a basis of community. Now, you go to a fancy restaurant and you get a table by yourself someplace. But when you go out to these places, it's like going to the night market. You rub elbows with many people, doctors and lawyers and all kinds of people. And it's kind of a community feeling, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, you definitely feel like you're excited about what you're eating, and like, wow, they're suddenly eating something that you never tried before.
You might even ask them, how does that taste?
Yeah, you talk about your day with them. Yeah, and then sometimes it reminds you of home, especially like your grandmother's recipe. It's like, wow, I never knew it was it actually exists here in this food center.
Yeah, and can bond over food.
Yeah,
That's right.
Businesses get done in food courts. Yeah,
Well, that's good to have it to be more friendly. Like in
For
some
sure.
places in America, they're more friendly that way. I know I live on the West Coast, and we often, anytime you go to a restaurant, you talk to people, hi, what do you eat? But in New York, you don't dare talk to them. They look at you, who are you?
Yeah, that'd be strange.
Very strange.
Yeah.
So a culture that involves this makes people feel more like they're part of that.
Yes. Well, I think that's what's special about this
Friendly.
Singapore. Yeah, is the openness, and people can just come from anywhere and then sit down and have a meal and order variety
Doesn't matter
of food.
what nationality you are or
Nationality,
anything.
yeah.
Right, and one of our vocabulary words describes that feeling, unpretentious. So it's unpretentious food, unpretentious people. They're very sincere. Everybody just cares
Now,
about.
that's a very good word to
That's a
know.
good word.
Don't be pretentious. They'll think you're so great. Be unpretentious, right?
Right.
Unpretentious food brings. And you want to eat elbow to elbow or close to people, not isolated in your own little booth.
Yeah, for sure.
So that sounds like something for people who like to be social and talk together. And you might, you don't know those people, but you feel part of it when you're there. So you have to check it out.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Another thing to put on
Another
the list.
thing to do to check out.
Yeah, the smell of the food is just amazing for me. Yeah, for sure.
Well, why did it start? It says it's born of necessity. Let's read the next section.
Born from necessity. Hawkers typically specialize in one thing, like a Hainanese chicken rice or bak kut teh, a pork rib soup, and rarely charge more than $4 a portion. Their artisan's way of cooking sets standards high, making it hard to find a bad meal in this island nation. Hawkers are the descendants of itinerant street food vendors who predate Singapore's founding in 1965. After nationhood, they were licensed and housed in pavilions located in or near public housing, where 80% of Singaporeans live today. That gave the masses access to cheap, clean, and abundant food that helped power Singapore's productivity. By taking away the chore of cooking, it enabled both spouses to work.
Well, this paragraph starts out talking about this specialty, which is Hainanese chicken rice. And everybody says, oh, you got to have chicken rice. So that's the first thing on your list.
Yes, it is. I gotta eat the chicken rice.
Because
Yes,
it's
you
very
should try.
well known down there.
Yes, it is very well known, and the chicken is so tender. Yeah,
And what do you call it?
bak kut teh is
Bak
like
kut
a pork rib soup. Yeah,
Pork rib
seasoned
soup,
with
bak kut teh.
a lot of pepper and
Most people like pork
garlic.
rib soup. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good and healthy. We eat it for breakfast, actually.
Oh, no. Really? My goodness.
Yeah.
I think youtiao is
Youtiao.
We eat it with the youtiao, and
that
tea,
too?
and tea
Oh,
in the
yeah.
morning. So we eat this with tea,
Okay.
and sometimes there's also people with their birds. They come hang it on, and then it's like a very morning event for people sometimes.
Oh, that's good. And it doesn't cost that much either. So right nowadays, for $4, that's very cheap. Really.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yes.
good.
Don't go to New York and expect breakfast for that. Right. Right. Well, it says here that their artisan's way of cooking. Now, what would be an artisan's way of cooking?
So an artisan is someone who's skilled in making something by hand. So if you're an artisan, you want to do it by hand. You don't have anything automated. So you're going to take care in doing it.
So that means that the cooks care about it. They don't just throw it together. They want to make it taste good and flavor just right and look good. And so it's hard to find a bad meal because everybody wants to make their food good and not just sell it to you no matter what. That sounds good.
Yeah,
doesn't
that
it?
sounds like a great thing.
Yeah,
It sounds really personal and really makes it sound good. The food,
Yeah,
it
they're
really
very
does.
high standards.
So the people that do this and work in these little stalls or whatever they are, it says hawkers. They are descendants of itinerant street food vendors. Now, what would that be, itinerant street food vendors?
That just means moving from place to place. So they stay in one place for a short time and then move on.
So kind of more like we used to have people going around in the streets more pushing carts that sell noodles and things like that. That would be the itinerant, not in one place, right?
Yeah, they definitely go to different places
Noodle
at different
cars.
times. Yeah, to sell their food. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after the, 1965, after it became its own country again, after their nationhood, they became a nation themselves, then these people were licensed to be not just on the street with their carts, but what happened to them at that time?
Well, they were licensed and housed in pavilions, so they had a proper place. They didn't have to keep moving around anymore. And these pavilions or covered areas were located in or near public housing, and that's where most of the population lives now.
Right. That's true. And, just like the night markets that we have, they put them together, and it's not like every street has it. They have certain sections where they have certain night markets, and they kind of
Right.
did that.
A designated place for the hawkers.
Yeah. And actually, I think for night markets, they are open at night, but Singapore actually opens throughout mostly the day, actually. Like from the morning to at least after work, yeah. So
10 to 12 hours a day, it says.
yeah, it's a long work
12
hour, for
hours.
sure.
That's true.
And they don't have anybody to substitute them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, and they gave all the people that came, the masses of people, the people that came, they gave them the opportunity to have cheap, clean, and abundant food. Now, that's very important. We want to have cheap food, but if it's not clean, or if it's not good, you get sick.
Right. Yeah.
So to have it keep cheap and clean, and a lot of it, it's not easy.
yeah, the government actually has a health
Control.
rating for all the stalls, actually.
That's
So
good.
yeah, so it makes it whether it's clean or not. Yes.
I think they need to do that too.
Yeah.
But how could that help power Singapore's productivity? How would that help?
Well, it took away the chore of cooking. And if both spouses could go and work,
Right.
then that would contribute to the productivity of Singapore, to the
That's
economy.
true, because if the man and the wife both work, and then they have to go out and buy the food and come home and cook it, and they're tired, and maybe they can't even make supper for $4 each. I mean, this way, it's cheaper in a
It's
way.
very
isn't
sad, though, is in some ways. Like, you don't actually learn how to cook anymore.
it? Yeah, that's true.
But it's convenient.
It is convenient. Yes, it is
convenient,
convenient.
yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, you can learn the special things, like people learn nasi goreng. There's pictures of some of these things. There's crispy prawns, and I know a lot of Indonesians like nasi goreng.
Yes, nasi goreng, yeah, with the or sometimes you add rendang, like beef rendang to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's kinda
because it's like coconut
noodles.
rice. Yeah, very nice, very nice.
right. And then it shows you the other picture on the top of this. What do you call the bakdu?
The bakute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the pork rib one.
Yeah, that looks good too.
It's really good. Actually, the meat falls off the bone.
It's very well
Very
cooked.
well cooked.
And that's healthier
seasoned.
that way, to have it well cooked too.
Yeah, lots of garlic in it.
Well, yeah, but
lots of
and also
garlic. I
it's
love
well
it.
cooked so that it keeps the germs out of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
This is not spicy though, right?
No.
No. But
that's not right.
I like to dip it in soy sauce and chili.
I like mine not spicy. You take the spicy one, I'll take. But you can get all different kinds of food that you like there.
But they say in Singapore, is like a bit of spiciness help open up your taste to things.
Yeah.
So that's why Singapore food is a bit spicy sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can have it both ways. That's true. Well, but the last paragraph says that they have to honor this heritage. Now, we talk about heritage of certain things that our country has that we want to keep. And what is a heritage, actually?
Well, it's like tradition. It's something that we pass down from generation to generation, and we want to keep it
Right.
in the culture or keep it in the family.
Well, like you take a country like America, there's people from all over the world, but the Germans keep their heritage, and the Chinese and Japanese, they like to keep their heritage, but they're still in that country,
Yeah.
see? Because your heritage are the things that were passed on by your background, your parents.
Right. And it's important to maintain your
So
heritage.
even if you're not in Singapore, and I know I had some brothers that worked down in that area, and then their wives all learned how to make nasi goreng, and they cooked that in Seattle for
Yeah,
us.
Wow.
that's
See,
really good.
because they carried on the heritage.
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
So let's read this last paragraph.
Honoring heritage. After perhaps underselling its appeal, the Singaporean government has jumped on the hawker bandwagon in recent years. It established a hawker incubation program that allowed applicants to lease a stall at half price for 6 months to encourage a new generation. And it launched a campaign to include hawker culture into UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage, alongside things such as France's gastronomic dining and Italy's Neapolitan pizza.
Okay, so they have to honor this, and it says they are perhaps underselling its appeal. Now, most people like to oversell. When you oversell, you tai kwa jiang, you try to make it too much that way. But how could you undersell the appeal?
Well, if you sell it or present it with less enthusiasm, or you don't extol its value. So maybe it's, this can help you, but you don't say what it really can do.
So the Singapore government has tried to do something, and you were mentioning that to us, Francis. It says they've jumped on the hawker bandwagon. In other words, they are sticking up for them. They're saying, let's support the hawkers. How are they doing that?
Well, they're trying to actually give out applicants a lease of a stall at least half a price cheaper, and for for 6 months to encourage the generations, especially the millennials this year, to actually want to sell food in hawker centers. Yeah.
So they try to encourage them, and they even have ways to teach them how to run their shops.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, because now more and more people in Singapore are entrepreneurs, and so hawker food is actually one that's really good, especially during Chinese New Year. They actually have they rent out stalls to the younger generation and then get them to sell food that's been passed on from their parents. So it's been really encouraging to watch the government try to help them also.
So they kind of got on the hawker bandwagon. They said, let's stick up for that.
Yeah.
Let's help them. Let's not use this, Like there's just certain Chinese things that people always have done, and they try to keep those, the la mian, so you can use, with your hands.
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
They try to keep those traditions. Don't lose everything to machines, right?
Yeah. The taste is still different, so I think it's to try to keep that consistency with the food and to remember how it tastes like,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
true. So they did have some kind of a campaign. They wanted more people to know about the hawker culture. What did they do there?
Right, so they launched a campaign to include hawker culture into UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. And alongside such things as France's gastronomic dining and Italy's Neapolitan pizza.
Okay, because, most of the places say this is French food or this is Italian pieces and so forth, and they want to keep that reputation, and so they say, we want to keep our heritage too, and this is Hakka food from Singapore.
Yeah.
This is Hainanese chicken rice.
Yeah, the heritage of actually just enjoying the food that's been passed down. Yeah.
Right. So they have good food, cheap, abundant food, and you go to Singapore, there's a lot of things you can do down there, but you are going to be sure to want to eat and go to different places. And I know that you're already ready to book a trip down
Yes. I'm about to
after this article,
book
right?
the flight to Singapore right after this program.
Yeah, you could probably ride a bicycle around it too. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's something
right.
else
I
I have
should
to
do
do.
that.
We're not that big, yeah.
But Francis, he kind of misses all that Singaporean
I
food.
do. I do
Like,
miss it
yeah.
a lot, yeah.
But it's nice, have certain things in our country that are our heritage and that we can pass them on to other people and we can enjoy them. And it's nice for us to talk about them so that you can know about them, so that people all around the world know what these different areas have. So that's what's good about Advance. We can kind of go around the world and look at different places. Isn't that interesting for us?
Yes, and we can learn from one another.
You can learn from that, and everybody likes to eat, so this is one kind of food you can learn to eat more of. So thanks for being with us, Francis.
My pleasure to be here.
And next time we'll have another interesting lesson coming up. There's always something new and good coming up in Advance. So advance your English and keep it going. We'll see you next time in class. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.